Lightning struck Roy Sullivan 7 times. He survived every one. 5 hurricanes destroyed 5 different homes belonging to Melanie Martinez. Then, 2,343 bee stings turned Johannes Relleke into a record holder. These may be the 3 unluckiest records on Earth. World records usually celebrate something a person trained for, built, or deliberately achieved. They turn skill, patience, or ambition into a measurable result. These 3 people never entered a competition. They did not submit an application and then attempt a challenge. Their records began when ordinary days collided with extraordinary disasters. Roy Sullivan spent much of his working life outdoors in Virginia's Shenandoah National Park. Thunderstorms were an occupational danger for a ranger, but exposure alone cannot make his story feel normal. His first recorded strike came in April 1942. Lightning hit a wooden fire lookout tower and set it burning. Roy tried to escape before the structure became a trap. As he fled, another bolt struck his right leg. It scorched the limb and tore away the nail of his big toe. Somehow, he remained standing and survived. Then, nothing happened for 27 years. The terrifying encounter could have remained a single story from the beginning of his career, one freak accident in a dangerous outdoor job. In July 1969, Roy was driving his truck when lightning struck again. He was knocked unconscious. His eyebrows were burned away, and the electrical surge destroyed his wristwatch. The damaged watch became a physical reminder that the second encounter could not be dismissed as a confused memory. Lightning had now reached Roy inside a moving vehicle. The third strike arrived in July 1970, while Roy was standing in his own garden. He was no longer on a mountain or inside a lookout tower. The bolt seared his left shoulder. In April 1972, a fourth strike reached him inside a guardhouse at work. The electrical discharge set his hair on fire. Shelter had failed to protect him again. By then, every dark cloud carried a personal threat. Roy was no longer merely afraid of lightning. He reportedly came to believe that the sky was actively seeking him out. In August 1973, lightning struck while he was in a vehicle once more. His newly grown hair caught fire, and his legs were burned. It was his 5th recorded encounter. The 6th strike came during a walk in June 1976. Roy's hair burned yet again, and the force injured his ankle. Even an ordinary trail had become dangerous. 1 year later, while fishing from a boat, Roy suffered the 7th and final recorded strike. It burned his chest and stomach. He still managed to survive. The story gained one final bizarre detail. Roy's wife was also struck once while hanging laundry in their yard. Roy was helping her nearby, but that time the lightning missed him. Guinness World Records recognizes Roy for the most lightning strikes survived. 7 between 1942 and 1977. Online retellings claim his grave was later struck too, but no reliable evidence supports that ending. Roy's misfortune arrived from the sky without warning. Melanie Martinez had more time to see hers coming, again and again, from the Gulf of Mexico. Melanie was a school bus driver from Braithwaite, a low-lying Louisiana community south of New Orleans. Hurricanes were a known risk there, but her experience went far beyond regional danger. In 1965, Hurricane Betsy struck Louisiana with destructive winds, rain, and storm surge. It destroyed the first of Melanie's homes. She was forced to begin again. Melanie rebuilt her life. 20 years later, Hurricane Juan wandered along the Louisiana coast in an unusually erratic path. Flooding and storm surge left her homeless for a second time. 2 destroyed homes could still be explained as a terrible coincidence in a hurricane-prone region. Melanie salvaged what she could, found another place, and continued. But the pattern did not stop. Hurricane George arrived in 1998. The approaching storm triggered what was then one of the largest evacuations in American history. Melanie lost a third home. 7 years later came Hurricane Katrina, one of the most destructive disasters in United States history. Storm surge devastated southeastern Louisiana, and Melanie's fourth home was lost. Water overwhelmed entire communities. Levee failures flooded enormous areas, and hundreds of thousands of residents were displaced. For Melanie, another address had become another ruin. After 4 separate losses, leaving Louisiana might have seemed inevitable. But this was where Melanie had built her life. The same coast that frightened her was still home. In 2012, her 5th house received a $20,000 renovation from the television program Hideous Houses. The makeover added a new kitchen, appliances, and a special room for her sewing. The timing seemed like a rare turn of good fortune. Then, only months later, Hurricane Isaac approached Louisiana and pushed water toward Braithwaite. Local levees were overtopped. When Melanie returned by boat, floodwaters surrounded the house. The new rooms, new appliances, and many personal possessions had been submerged. Very little could be saved. Isaac had destroyed her 5th home in 47 years. Betsy, Juan, George, Katrina, and Isaac had each taken a different house from the same woman. Guinness lists Melanie Martinez as the person made homeless by hurricanes the most times. The expensive television makeover, completed shortly before Isaac, became the record's almost unbelievable final twist. Roy's record unfolded across 35 years. Melanie's took almost half a century. The last story compresses its entire nightmare into a single afternoon. On January 28, 1962, Johannes Relleke was stationed near the Kamativi tin mine in what was then Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. The Gwai River ran through the surrounding landscape. Johannes went walking near the river with his dog. It was an ordinary trip away from the mine, and nothing at its beginning suggested that either of them was in danger. Then, an enormous swarm of angry bees descended on them. Johannes and the dog ran toward the river. Open water appeared to offer the only escape from the insects. They entered the river together. According to the account published by Guinness, Johannes tried to keep his dog submerged for protection while holding its nose above the surface. The water offered only partial safety. Each time Johannes needed air, more bees could reach him. He struggled to remain afloat while refusing to release the frightened animal. Then the story became even worse. Guinness recounts that a crocodile took the dog while Johannes was still attempting to protect it. He could do nothing to stop the loss. Johannes eventually reached the riverbank alive and alone. The swarm had left an extraordinary number of stingers embedded in him, but the full scale was not yet known. Medical workers began removing the stingers and counting them one by one. This was not an estimate based on the swarm's size. The final documented total was 2,443. A severe reaction can make even one sting dangerous for an allergic person. Johannes had endured thousands. Guinness recognizes his case as the most bee stings survived by a human being. He survived the swarm, the river, and the desperate attempt to save his companion. The record preserved a number, but the number cannot describe everything that day cost him. 7 lightning strikes, 5 homes destroyed by 5 hurricanes, 2,443 bee stings. Each figure sounds invented until the official record confirms it. None of these people went looking for a world record. They did not break these records for fame. Misfortune found them, and Guinness recorded the result. Which story belongs at the top? Roy Sullivan, Melanie Martinez, or Johannes Relleke? And which unbelievable Guinness World Records should this series investigate next?